Well, good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder, and this is BRN AM for Monday, October 19th, 2020. And our top stories today, how military families manage money and save, and transitioning to a new career post-Navy. Well, joining me now to discuss this and more is John Richards of the United States Navy. John, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you doing today?
I'm doing quite well. And we thank you so much for coming on the program and sharing a little bit about what it's like to be a member of the Navy and also what it's like to manage finances. So let's just kick it off. Being a member of the Navy, you're active duty. Sometimes you can be deployed and you have a family. What is the lifestyle like of an active military member?
I would say hectic is a very good phrase for just about anybody in any branch of the military, not just the Navy. So first, I want to show my respect to anyone who is active duty or who has been active duty, past, present, or future, to include their family and spouses. There are so many sacrifices that so many of them make day in, day out, year in, year out. I know plenty of people who have missed every Christmas of their child's short-lived life so far, missing summer vacations. So hectic with a sense of sacrifice, but also fulfillment and knowing you're doing meaningful work.
Absolutely. And I think that if I failed to mention that, and my apologies, I think you're absolutely right. There's a lot of sacrifice by not only the military member, but also his or her family. John, our show is about retirement savings, personal finance. How is juggling being deployed, if someone is fortunate to have a spouse, have a family, managing those family finances along the way?
Well, I think it takes a heavy dose of intentionality. So a mentor of mine who I followed for a while has said, no one wins the Super Bowl by accident. So you're never going to live optimally in your finances by accident. The average American, 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, including service members. So just because we are service members doesn't make us exempt to human nature and behavior of wanting to spend and have that satisfaction of here and now when I could go buy something easy. The people I've seen who succeed in money live very intentionally. They learn how to live on the dreaded B word, which is a budget, which actually the dreaded B word is actually very empowering once you learn how to budget for your lifestyle and also understanding you're delaying certain gratifications now to build a better future in your later years, and not just for you, but for the generations that follow you inside of your family. So everyone I've seen that succeeds with money lives on a budget. They have a plan. They have written goals that they want to achieve, and they're also investing actively into either retirement accounts or into their future, whether that's a Roth IRA, traditional IRA, or into the U.S. military's TSP program.
And you bring up the military federal thrift savings program, the largest retirement program in the world. And we've actually had the executive director, Ravi Deo, on the program to talk about the great work that he and the team do. Give us your sense about the TSP, and maybe for those active duty members or even members of the federal workforce, some of the benefits and things that if they're not participating, they're leaving on the table.
Yeah, they're leaving serious dollars on the table. And first, I want to give a tip of the hat to the TSP program because it really is a wonderful, wonderful program for DoD service members. I don't want to use the word cheap because that comes with a negative connotation.
Sure.
But the fees that you pay inside of the TSP are abysmal. They are nothing. So that means your money is really, really growing. However, some of the issues I've seen with the TSP, and not in the TSP itself, but with the service members who use it, is they're completely ignorant on how to invest for retirement, how to get money into the TSP. So one of the big issues I've seen is to contribute to your TSP, your thrift savings plan. For the civilians out there, the thrift savings plan is the equivalent of a 401k for a service member. But to contribute to it, you actually have to go onto a different website called MyPay. And MyPay is where you access your pay stub, as we used to call it in the old days, and you see exactly everything you get paid for, everything you get taxed for, all your special pay. But that's also where you figure out what percentage of your paycheck you want to go into the thrift savings plan. Now, here's the cool kicker. for the younger folks in the military, they now have the blended retirement system. So if you contribute at least 5% of your paycheck, they will match that 5%. And let me backtrack a little. If you contribute 1%, they match 1%. They will match you all the way up to 5% of your base pay, every single paycheck that you contribute. So that in itself can give you double the growth or contribution per year. But so many people don't realize how to even do that. They get overwhelmed and intimidated and they never even start. And then once they do finally like make that hurdle of, okay, I'm going to get on my pay and I'm going to sign on, they contribute and they go, I did it. Like we're investing now. Well, hold on. You're not investing yet. To invest into the TSP, you still have to open your TSP account. And this can take some time because it is a federal program, but the time is well worth it. It can take 2 to 3 weeks to activate your TSP account and to create a password. And then when you go onto the TSP website, that's how you can determine where your money's going to go, like what it's going to get invested in. So it can go into the S&P 500, the mid cap, the small cap index funds, as well as international funds. I'm not a broker, I'm not an advisor, but I myself, I'm heavy in the C fund, the I fund, and the S fund, and I just let the money grow for now. But there's so many members who are just ignorant overall to TSP itself. They're completely missing out on that. And if you're investing you're an old financial advisor, like you know these numbers. If you're doing just $500 a month for 20, 25 years, you're going to retire a millionaire, and you're going to retire very comfortably. But it really starts with what we talked about earlier, with living intentional, being very deliberate with a plan for your finances in life.
Yeah, I think you're speaking my type of language. This is a tremendous benefit. You mentioned investments, and investments in the TSP, very unique, but they're not like 100 different investments, John. Really, you can read information about them. You can seek out guidance from someone like yourself who has been there before, maybe a member of your platoon, a sergeant, someone who is in leadership to help guide you through, or you could call the TSP. How difficult was it for you to kind of wrap your arms around how to invest?
I'll be honest with you, when I didn't know anything about investing, I thought the stock market is where people went to lose all their money, because that's all you hear about. When you're not in the bubble, all you hear about is, yeah, he lost all his money in the stock market. He just didn't know what he's doing. And that's just really not how life works. The stock market is, in my opinion, the greatest money-making machine in the history of mankind. And if you're not in it, you are severely missing out, and you're not doing yourself any favors to set yourself up for the long run. So understanding investing, if you know nothing, if you know absolutely nothing, if you don't know what compound interest is, if you don't know what a mutual fund is, that's okay. That makes you normal. But it takes about an hour or two of just some quality internet articles, finding resources like you guys, talking to a guy like me, talking to a financial professional who I can point you in the right direction of, that I get no kickback for. I just know really good people with really good hearts in the industry who are here to serve people and not make money. And that's another issue I've seen too, is plenty of people carry cynicism when it comes to any sort of financial product. And while they're not growing their money, they also don't want anyone to touch it, because they're kind of guarding and shielding it, because they think everyone in the financial institutions just want to take their money. And that's just truly not the case.
Yeah. Well, that's really good advice, John. John, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about transitioning from the Navy and what is in store for John. So stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
The windows on our homes, they protect us and the ones we love, but they do much more. At Renewal by Andersen, making your home more comfortable is at the center of every window we make. It's why we custom build our windows in America and install them in as little as 1 day. It's why we build our frames with exclusive Fibrex composite material that's 2 times stronger than vinyl. It's why our glass helps keep your home warmer in winter, cooler in summer, and quieter all year long. It's why we stand behind every window with a 20-year limited warranty. Why not help lower your energy costs while giving your home and family the best? Call 1-800-835-6525 to schedule a free in-home consultation. Buy one, get one at 40% off with this special offer. Plus, get special financing with no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 1 full year. Renewal by Andersen, the better way to a better window. Call 1-800-835-6525 now.
Welcome back. We're talking to John Richards of the United States Navy. John, thank you so much for staying with us this morning.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate your insight into military lifestyle and also the importance of saving for retirement through the TSP. Now let's shift gears, and if you wouldn't mind and permit us, I want to hear a little bit about your career and what's next in store for John. You've been a member of the Navy, I think, for close to 2 decades. You've served your country amazingly. But what are you thinking about doing once you leave the Navy? Because you'll have so much life left, and I know you're a giving person. So what's top of mind for you for that next step?
Yeah, so thank you for your kind words. What it looks like I'm getting into next will be what I call growth coaching. Some people call it life coaching, but life is the overall thing. But what I want to help people do is grow and succeed. And I've worked with success coaches of my own, and I see true value in that. So what I'm looking to get into, and I'm starting up, is my own coaching practice called High Ground Life. For those of you who don't understand the importance of that name, in tactics and battlefield, if you own the high ground, you own that space. You can't be knocked off of it. You own it, you dominate it, it's yours, and you drive it. So that's where that name comes from, because I want to teach people how to take the high ground in their own life. And then when they get to that high ground, they find that next high ground that they want to go to. So it's a constant day of growth. You never really arrive because you're always chasing that better version of you. And what I really want to drive home to people are some core values that I live by, and I'll share them with your viewers right now, Jeff, if you're okay with that. So
absolutely.
The big one that I'll start on is ownership. All of our successes and all of our failures ride on us. It's not because of anyone else. When we fail, it's totally on us. When we succeed, though, it's because of the company around us and learning how to work as a team and not just be a sole individual floating through space, but instead we give ownership and making every space better that we try and enter. The second pillar that I believe in is attitude. And attitude's like a 2-pronged tool. You have to have an attitude of optimism, because if you're not optimistic about your life, no one's going to be optimistic about your life or whatever it is that you're trying to do. You can't go through life with the spirit of Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. You need a constant look of optimism. And when you see how beautiful the flowers are, you really, start to see how beautiful the flowers are. And it's almost like optimism feeds on optimism. And when you have that quality outlook and positive sense of things are going well because you're taking ownership and driving it, then people can really be surprised at how far you can push your career, your life, your finances, your marriage, the relationship with your children. And then the other prong inside of the attitude is an attitude of gratitude. And it's really hard to be hateful when your heart's being grateful. Now, I don't want to sound cheesy by rhyming, but those words just happen to rhyme. When you're grateful for everything you've been given, you'll never take it for granted. And you seem to look for more. You find the positive in things and objects that come your way. So instead of viewing everything that might be a problem You view it as an opportunity because it's an opportunity to learn, grow, and even serve somebody along the way. And then lastly is the pillar of intentionality. I alluded to it heavily in the earlier segment that we did, but again, no one wins the Super Bowl by accident. No one has ever won the Heisman Trophy by accident. Wars aren't won on accident. Everyone's success of significance comes from living a life of intentionality and planning. And that's what I want to teach people that I work with. And these are all things I've put into my life probably in the past 10 years. And I just saw such an exponential growth in every aspect. I think it's worth sharing with my fellow man, an American, and anyone else who wants to learn these things, that we teach, learn, and pass it on, and we enjoy the growth along the way.
John, are these tenets, these principles that you're espousing, are these things that you learned from the military, or did you learn them from your parents through high school at an early age?
Well, a little bit of both. So my dad was in law enforcement for almost 30 years, so I can't remember exactly what it was, but I got in trouble at school for something. And I tried to pass the blame. He gave me the firm talking to him. No one made you do this except for you. I was probably like talking in class or being a class clown, knowing me. But that's kind of where I learned, like, dang, he's right. Like, no one made me keep talking in class. I chose to do that. And that's where that mindset of ownership really comes from. And then once you take it and start to run with it, you really start to see how strong it can be when you apply it to other things. Optimism, I learned it going through training. You just can't go through hard times with a bad outlook on how bad things are going to turn out. You can only, well, I don't want to say you can only, because you can do a lot of things, but the best way to go about it is to have that dose of optimism. And even when it's not fun, to know that you're going through a season of life and that you're growing from it. It's not something you need to dwell on. It's not going to define you. Just keep on moving. Yeah. Gratitude is something I actually learned from a mental performance coach, a doctor. And she taught me not only the mental value of gratitude, but the physiological changes your body goes through when you actually actively practice gratitude every day. Your immune system strengthens, your sleep improves. For guys out there, your testosterone goes up, which sounds so weird that being grateful does that, but it truly does all of these things. And then intentionality. My wife and I paid off $106,000 of consumer debt in 13 months when I was an E5 in the Navy. Anyone who knows anything about military pay knows E5s do not make a lot, but we paid that off through intentionality, working extra shifts, selling things, living on a budget, cutting out the fun. Not all fun, but we weren't going out to dinner 4 times a week like we used to. We weren't spending the equivalent of a mortgage eating out every month. We were living very intentional, mindful, and deliberate. And I think when you mix these 4 pillars that I've described, you can really just take your life to a place that you didn't think was even possible.
Yeah. Well, very inspiring story in general. We appreciate you coming on to talk about the benefits of saving and also sharing a little bit about your life and your plans for the future. John Richards, thank you so much for joining us on the program today, and we look forward to having you back very soon.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, John. Great to see you, and thank you for sharing your perspective. And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest or someone you think we should talk to? Then drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the news in retirement, markets, technology, personal finance, so much more, check out our newsletter, The Morning Pulse. So until tomorrow, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.